Oh, Cam, after jumping out to a 31-0 halftime lead, the Panthers were outscored 24-0 in the second half. It was the fourth game in postseason history which each team scored at least 24 unanswered points. Cam Newton said it best. Everyone was playing tight in the second half. How much confidence did you lose in the Panthers after watching the second half, Stephen A?
I didn't lose any confidence. I mean, listen. I saw them give up that big lead against the Giants. If there was ever a time I was going to lose confidence, it was then. But, you know, I got to tell you, I think the best thing that happened to the Carolina Panthers was losing that regular season game to the Atlanta Falcons and ultimately suffering a loss during the regular season. I think had that not been the case, they could have lost to Seattle yesterday. But knowing what, you know, being reminded of what losing looks like, you know, they're going to have peaks and valleys. They're going to have those challenges. When you have the kind of momentum that they were riding, the last thing you need is a break, a reprieve, a breather. That's what happened. It gave Seattle a moment to get their bearings under them, meaning halftime. And more importantly, it sort of, you know, diminished or sort of evened out the emotion or the adrenaline level that the Carolina Panthers and that crowd that they have was riding. So I think when you look at it from that perspective, if Carolina had been up, Skip, say 20-10 at the half, I don't think they would have fallen apart the way that they did in the second half. But they were running away. I mean, that first half was an annihilation. There's no other way to look at it. And if you're the Carolina Panthers, you could conceivably take your foot off the gas when you have an elite defense known for shutting people down when they need to, and you're spotting them 31 points. You're thinking the day is over. You've got nothing to worry about. And so because of it, from that perspective, moving forward, what you're interested in as opposed to making plays, you're trying to chew out the clock and just make sure you move the chains or, you know, just to do anything you can just to get it over with as opposed to just playing. I think that's what happened to Carolina. I think that facilitated Seattle coming back, even though nobody could take away what Seattle was able to do. In the end, however, Carolina is where they deserve to be. That's the NFC Championship game, and I think that's what this comes down to. So I'm not alarmed by it at all. I don't believe they're going to lose to Arizona this weekend, and I don't think there's that much to worry about because Carson Palmer, as great as he has been this year, and as much as he can do with that arm of his, he is not Russell Wilson. He is not the dual threat that Russell Wilson is. And I believe to beat Carolina, unless you're somebody the likes of Tom Brady, I don't believe, or Aaron Rodgers, I'm sorry, Aaron Rodgers would have helped Jordy Nelson. I don't believe that somebody that is not a dual threat can beat the Carolina Panthers defense, even though Aaron Rodgers would apply as a dual threat. But I don't believe Carson Palmer is, and I just don't believe that they'll beat Carolina.
See, even you, Aaron Rodgers for you has become an afterthought now, right?
They've
forgot about it.
They've lost it.
Because he's so forgettable.
They lost it. He's home.
Okay, I got it. All right. I do like your point about how the loss at Atlanta was a good loss. I agree with you. If they were going into this game completely undefeated, the pressure would mount. So if there is such a thing as a good loss, that was a good one. But I don't agree with your conclusion. I've lost some belief in this team because I'm not sure it completely believes in itself. Obviously, this is all new to the Carolina Panthers. They have not been here and done this before. They're trying to figure out exactly who they are and how to close out games. And I agree, it was such a bizarre score to suddenly find yourselves up 31-0 with 6:26 left in the second quarter against a team that had been your nemesis so many times, 2012, 2013, 2014, at home. You couldn't beat that team because Russell Wilson always made one more play in the fourth quarter than your guy Cam, as a young quarterback, was able to make. And all of a sudden you're up 31-0. So I get it that you don't know what to do with yourself. You take your foot off the gas. You just start watching the clock and you start feeling like time is standing still. Won't the clock run a little faster? But it won't run faster. Only the Seattle Seahawks are running faster and faster. So to me, if they hadn't done this before, if what happened at the Giants had not happened, I'd be okay with it. But it did happen at the Giants in the Odell Beckham Jr. game. the Josh Norman game. It was 35-7 Carolina in that game with 1:18 left in the third quarter. Really? All the way to the 1:18 mark in the third quarter, it was 35-7, and you completely blew that lead? That's even worse than yesterday. 35 all, and finally, as you remember, Carolina won it late, 38-35. Okay, that was on the road, but it's still another bad sign that you're a young team psychologically. You're not sure how to close games out. So all of a sudden, I saw Carson Palmer and company go from feeling huge pressure at home as sort of a prohibitive favorite, not quite, what were they, 7-point favorites, but they should have won the game, and they ultimately survived and won the game. But now they can heave a sigh of relief and go to Carolina as the underdog and feel good about themselves. I think you'll see Arizona play a better game at Carolina because the pressure's off. Now nobody really expects them to do great things except for Cardinal Nation, obviously. So I don't know about this. It just gave me pause yesterday at the end of the game because Russell Wilson just torched them in the second half. And meanwhile, Cam and company mustered 85 total yards in the second half. And as Cam said, we went into protect mode. We got tight. I get all that, but it's just not a great sign this deep into the playoffs.
Let's put it in its proper perspective, Skip. We believe wholeheartedly that somehow, some way, the combination of Carson Palmer with Larry Fitzgerald, John Brown, Michael Floyd, Derek Johnson are going to be able to put forth a more respectable performance over the course of 4 quarters. That at some juncture, even though Carolina should have an edge, Cam Newton and those boys are not going to get away with being shut out in its entire second half. What I would remind you, however, is that what seems sort of destiny for the Carolina Panthers is that they seem capable of doing whatever needs to be done. If they need offense, that's fine. If they need a pass, that's great. If they need running, whether it's Jonathan Stewart or Cam Newton being called for running plays himself, they'll get it done. If it's the defensive play, you need an interception, that's fine. You need a sack, that's fine. Whatever the case may be, what has you impressed about the Carolina Panthers is the fact that whatever needs to get done, gets done. And it seems to me, I got to tell you, for me, we've got all week to discuss our points, but I think Carolina and the New England Patriots, the way, if you look and you really monitor this season, the way things have unfolded, it seems destiny that Cam is going to meet Brady for a Super Bowl title on the line. It just seems like destiny is for that somehow, some way, with the kind of ride the Carolina Panthers are on, it's going to take a Brady to knock them off. Well, then, and if Deflategate is Deflategate, and that's been the rallying cry that has propelled New England through all the tumult that they've experienced this year, it's going to take a Cam to knock Brady off. Okay. It just seems like that's destiny. I thought that Seattle could take Carolina. I really, really did. And I still feel that way. Had they shown up in the first half, I think they would have won a game. I never in my wildest dreams never saw that kind of collapse coming. But as I sat back in retrospect and hindsight and analyzed everything that we saw, it leads back to what I said to you about the Super Bowl last year, the call, the friction and tumult that existed with the team from that point forward. Pete Carroll and them messed up a good thing. They fixed something. They tried to fix something that wasn't broke, and now it cost them. And I think that Carolina is capitalizing off of it.
So if you're right about this, and the Super Bowl does come down to Cam versus Brady, then the upcoming movie, which is Superman versus Batman, will take on a life of its own on the football field. Won't that be Superman versus
so
Batman?
Fitting. I can see the marketing happening.
I will say this
Superman,
to y'all,
right?
I will say this to you. I don't know about that movie because Batman, you're basically a normal human being with a cape on, all right, and a costume.
Well, it's Ben Affleck. He's not normal,
the man
though,
of
right?
steel. You're not the man of steel.
I know.
I'm
How's he
rolling
gonna
with
fight him?
Superman all day, every day in that matchup.
And I don't know anything about this, but how does one of them go bad? Somebody's got to be the bad guy. It sounds. I watching the commercials.
Yeah.
It looks like Superman's the bad guy.
Make me Superman any day of the week. I don't need to sit there and shoot gun, stuff out of my wrist and, sliding over all over. I can just fly like Superman.
Oh, God. Even the good guys have a little bad. But, guys, before we crown Cam, he needs to beat Carson. This will be the first time we see two Heisman-winning quarterbacks face off in the postseason.
It won't be
Both
easy.
also #1 picks. No. And we know who Steph Curry is rooting for. The two best players in the NBA face off in Cleveland tonight. Stephen A.